This video, we're going to make a very simple image viewer. Now, when I say simple, I'm talking based off the skills and knowledge that we've acquired up to this point. We're going to make a super simple interface with some layouts. We're going to make a custom component, and we're going to make that component a button, and it's going to be responsive to when we mouse over it, and when we click it, it's going to change the image. Now, this is going to be what I call an end-to-end video, which is raw, unedited, unfiltered. You're going to see every step, every mistake end to end, because I get a lot of feedback from people saying, it looks like you modified the video at, 5 minutes and 32 seconds. Did you skip a step? And yeah, actually, I'll make mistakes. I'm human just like you. So I'll actually chop the video, edit it, go back to where I didn't make the mistake. So anyways, you're going to see every mistake. There may even be some curse words. So first steps first, right click our resource file. We're going to open that in the editor. Let's make a prefix. And we're going to add some images. So we're going to add files. And I already had some files staged out there, just cat, dog, fish, and the cute logo. Voila. Go ahead and save all. Make sure those appear. They do. They're beautiful. I love that cat. Awesome picture. Anyways, let's go in here. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a component. Let's go here. Add new, and we need a good solid name. Let's call this hover button. Let's go ahead and give this an ID. Let's call this root, and we're going to add some properties here. So we're going to say property, color, and we want to give this name of color. And I'm just going to give it some crazy colors here. So basically, we're just going to make a button out of a rectangle, and we want it to be able to, you want to be able to click it and, set the normal color and the hover color. So here's the normal color. This is when they mouse over that thing. Let's make pink. Why not? I'm just making some crazy colors here. And then let's call this text color. And default for that will be white because, a button's got to have some sort of text in it. And then let's say let's call this text hover. So when they're actually hovering over it, what color do we want that text? And we want it to be black, because white text on a pink background is just going to be really hard to read. And now we want to go ahead and we're going to do what's called an alias this time. So we're going to say alias, and this is going to be a title. So what does this really mean, alias? That's an interesting type. So really what an alias does is it points to a child somewhere in this little stack that we're building here. So we don't have one yet. We're going to comment that out, but I'm just leaving that as a placeholder. I'm going to put X in there, and we're going to just make another one. And this is going to point to a mouse area that doesn't exist yet. So let's go ahead and flesh this out. Probably won't make sense what we're doing with that alias until we really flesh this out, so bear with me. So we're going to make this rectangle. And we're going to say height, and we want this to be the root.height, and width will be the root.width. In case you're wondering, couldn't you just set an anchor? Absolutely, we could. Let's see, color, we want this to be the root.color, and clip, yes, we want this to clip. Why? Because why not? We want it, so we're going to make it happen. All right, so we're going to add a text, and here we're going to say display. Now, because we're giving this an ID, and we don't want to do like some string, we want them to actually be able to modify this thing. We're going to make an alias, and we're going to call it title, and the title is actually an alias for the display component. In this case, it's a text component. So in case you need a recap here, a property alias basically points to another component. So they have all the properties of that component right there. You don't have to like list every single property of this component. It's an alias for it. Whew. It's kind of like a nickname. So if you have a nickname for a friend of yours. All right, so here we can just say, let's go ahead and do anchors, center in, and we want to say parent. Color, let's go ahead and do the root.text color. And we want to set the font bold to true. So we're getting a little bit in depth here, and we're getting a little nitpicky. I like that word, nitpicky. And now we're going to make a mouse area. And this is going to be our other property alias. So if we just grab this name, property alias area is going to point to, you guessed it, our mouse area. So why would you make a property alias? It's if you wanted to expose this child object without having to go through and make a property that points to every property of the child. It's incredibly handy, and it's an awesome feature, to be brutally honest with you. It can be a little scary at first, and it can be misused, but covering the basics, just think an alias points to something else. If you're coming from C++ land, an alias is basically a pointer. All right, anchors, fill, and we're going to fill the parent here. Hover enabled, of course true, because we want that mouse interaction. And now we need to do a bit of JavaScript here. So we're going to say on entered, and here we're going to say parent.color, and we want this to be the root hover color. And we want a couple things to happen here. There we go. Now what we want to do is take that display and we want that text hover. There we go. So now we're setting the color of the rectangle and the color of the text. The opposite of entered is exited, and we want to switch that back. So we're going to grab this, bang, bang, and then we're going to say color and text color. Pretty simple, pretty easy to understand what's going on here. All right, now we have two more we want to mess around with, on press and on release. Now we want to do something here. Now what do we want to do? You notice how we have a hover color, a text color, but we don't have like an actual press color, like something actually happened here. So what are we going to do? We're going to say, we need to add some more properties here. So we have hover color. Let's make click color. And we want click color to be orange. Why not? I don't really know. Anyways, click color. Let's go down here, and we're going to say the parent.color equal, and let's actually do the full root click color. That way we don't have any little gotchas in the near future. The opposite of on pressed is of course on released, and here we want to say parent.color. We want this to be the hover color. Now you may be thinking, why wouldn't you just make that the normal color? Because when you're released, you're still moused over it, so it's still hovering over it. Whew, a lot of typing, but I think we got it. Recap, we're making an item. Item's non-visual. We've got some properties. A couple of those are just aliases that point right back to the component. And then we're setting all those properties. And we've got some mouse interaction going on here. All right, now for the little bit of fun. This is going to be some typing. Let's go back into our main. Save, run. Let's make sure this thing actually builds and runs. Good. No mistakes thus far. And let's start banging this thing out. Now, before we do, I want to set some properties in here. So I'm going to say property. Properties are a great thing. Use them, love them. So we're going to say color, and let's call this BG color. Styling is a little bit more in depth. It's something we'll cover in the intermediate and advanced tutorials. Because we're still in beginner land, we haven't really touched on them. So we're just going to set a color. I'm going to say 5A. Actually, I'm just going to copy and paste because I'm lazy. In case you're wondering what color that is, you just mouse over. It's like that weird kind of slate gray. And then I'm just going to, through the magic of copy and paste, make a couple of these. Call that button color. And let's make this hover color. Make that lime green. And let's go with click color. And let's make this yellow. Now, why am I basically reinventing the wheel here? Couldn't I just set all these colors in the button itself? Absolutely, I could. I'm just showing you how you can interact with these properties. So if you don't want to do all this, you can just put all this right in here, but then you're kind of stuck with those colors and you have no way of really changing them. So let's go in here. And actually, I want to make one more. And I'm going to make a size. $100. All right, now we can get cooking on this thing. So what we need to do now is make a rectangle. And let's call this background. Color is going to be, and let's give this an ID up here. That way we can access all these properties. Instead of saying parent, we can just say root. So it's going to be root, not is prototype of, root dot color. Oops, not color, background color. This is what I mean by an end-to-end video. I would have edited that out, but some people like seeing me make those mistakes. I asked why one time, and they actually had a pretty good response. They said, we like seeing that not everybody's perfect, that even the instructors make mistakes. And let me tell you, instructors make a lot of mistakes. I end up editing a lot of these videos. All right, so parent.height. So what's going on here? It is 100 wide by the height. Ta-da! So this is where our little buttons are going to live, and then we've got a backdrop here. Interesting. Okay. There's probably an easier way of doing this, and I'm doing it a little bit complex, but I want to show you how I would do this. All right. So let's go in here, and let's make another rectangle. I'm just going to grab this guy here. And this is just going to be called rectangle. The ever descriptive rectangle. All right, so we're going to set the X to 100. We could have actually done an anchor. Set the Y to 0. Now let's do the width. And this is going to be the parent.width minus X. And let's do the height. And this is going to be the parent.height. In case you're a little bit more advanced in this video and you're going, why didn't you do it this way, or why didn't you do it that way? You're absolutely right. I'm just trying to do only what we've learned so far. So there are other ways of doing it, and admittedly better ways of doing it. But we're only tackling with what we know so far. We're going to add image here. It's going to appropriately be named image. And let's go ahead and set the anchors. And we want margins. Set that global margin to 25. Let's go ahead and fill, and we are going to fill the parent. We're going to set that fill mode, and it's going to be image dot preserve aspect fit. That way it's going to automatically scale that image down. Now I want to grab this logo. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to go down to the one that starts with QRC, copy that, paste it, Voila, let's save and run, see what this looks like. All right, so you can't see it, but there's a line right here where these two are. We could have very easily put those in a layout, but I wanted to show you how to do XY positioning, and this will now shrink and grow. Now our challenge is we need to put those hover buttons over here and be able to work with them. I say challenge, but it's really not super hard. So let's go in here. If you remember our conversation about the column, the humble column, humble yet powerful. Don't even really need an ID. We're going to fill the parent. And just to show that we can actually do a little bit of nestling here. We don't need to do this, but I just want to show you we could. We could drop another column in there. I'm going to put a hover button though. And let's say width equal 100. Height equals 50. I'm just going to control that. And let's say title. Now wait a minute. Title dot text. So that's that alias at work right there. Let's go back to our hover button and look. We have a title, and that's why I said wait a minute, because I want to get your attention here. Title is an alias to display, which is just a text component. So we can access the properties of this component because it's an alias. We don't have to make a property and point it down and blah, blah, blah. We can just say, hey, take that dot, whatever the property is, and set it. Very, very cool. Let's go ahead and set our colors. So color, we're going to say root, and this is going to be our button color. And then we want the hover color, and that's going to be the root hover color. Click color, let's go ahead and say root, you guessed it, click color. Save and run, let's see what that looks like here. Ta-da, and we've got our little button, and it's beautiful. It is just glorious, look at it. And we can mouse down and click. Now we need to actually figure out how to interact with this button. If we go back and we look at this, we have an alias to the mouse area, which means now we can go back in here and interact with this. So we're going to say area dot on pressed. That's right, you can actually interact with it that way. And then we're just going to say image dot source, and this becomes ridiculously easy. Right click, copy that QRC URL. Ta-da! Super simple. Let's run this. Click it, and wham! There's our cat. Now we just need to add a few more buttons, one for the dog and one for the fish. We can literally copy. Let's say dog. I already know the name, so just dog, and then fish and fish. Save and run. And ta-da! Beautiful. Now if we wanted to, what we could do, take this, and then it just looks seamless. In all of its glory. So recap what we've learned here. We've kind of covered a little bit of all of our bases. We've talked about positioning both with anchors and through columns and through XY coordinates. We've made a custom component. We have made some aliases, so now we can actually hook into these events. And we've got some basic user interaction. So really what we're at is the foundations of actually building an intuitive but simple and interactive user interface. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right.